Now live and on lockdown.
Are you ready?
Broadcasting from Edinburgh, Scotland and across the globe.
Listen here.
You're listening to Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast. The host, Fraser Ramsey.
Hey, this is Afia Leatham, creator of the Frame Your Day app, helping you walk out every day in victory. I'm proud to be a sponsor of Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders.
Hi, this is Zakia Ringgold from naturalsoapbyzakia.com, proud sponsors of the Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast.
Good day, another podcast. It's a Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast. I've got another guest, all the way from Texas. Am I correct? Were you based in Texas, or am I wrong again? I think I forgot to actually ask you. One thing I did actually.
No, you're correct. You are correct.
I am Texas. You did say Texas, because when you sort of think, yeah, you did say Texas, and you realise, am I wrong? No, I was correct. So what part of Texas are you?
You're fine.
That's good. Well, we'll find out exactly what part of Texas you're in. My guest, that was going to start a podcast on the great. I realise you have a complete brain blank, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so I welcome to another edition to Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders. My guest, all the way from Texas. We'll find out exactly what part shortly. We'll play do my usual shout outs. As you've listened to the podcast, you know who I shout out, my supporters. We've got, you've just heard from our. You just heard from our sponsors, obviously Zakia Ringgold, Natural Soap by Zakia, and the Frame Your Day app with Afia Leatham. If you're looking for you can download the Frame Your Day app on the Apple Store or Google. Excuse me. You can do it. So we're grateful for the support we get from people. Obviously, we'll shout out to our supporters down the line in the podcast. And we've obviously going to play some music. We've got Jeiris Cook and a collab with music, a new album, Jeiris Cook and Calvin Thomas did a collab song. So we'll play that during the podcast. We'll obviously shout out to all the people, as I say, and we'll play a random other tune, maybe a Benita Charles or a Kris Angelis. Kris Angelis has got a new one. There's obviously, we like to support upcoming artists around the world who do music, kind of get their music out there. And whether it's if they're only in the US, we like to get their music in the UK as well. We're playing it on the podcast, and it's great to support these artists who are developing and growing in their music. That's what we do. So before let's talk too much, and we'll get right into my guest. I've had several attempts to pronounce her name before the podcast, so just to get my teeth into it. So it's Chiquanda Johnson Alston is my guest. So welcome to the Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders podcast. So how you doing?
I am well, Fraser. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Yes, another day, another dollar working away. And as I say, another day closer to Christmas. That's the main thing.
Yes.
Which is all good. So you had a good day so far? You been at a good weekend, or you been up to much?
Oh my gosh. So it has been an amazing day. It's been an amazing week. Definitely out here in the States, we're getting ready for a holiday. We're getting ready for Black Friday, the biggest shopping time. But I have been busy with educating clients on being smart about your spending during these holiday times. So yes, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you for asking. It is pretty chilly in Texas. It's in the 40s or 50s. That's cold for us.
Well, so what part of Texas are you in exactly?
I am in Houston. No, you were right. You were correct. I am in Houston, Texas.
Cool. That's good. That's fantastic. It's getting cold down there. It's getting chilly here. Well, certainly we're sort of not too bad. It's cold, but certainly some parts in the US get better weather than us, even though they are getting cold as well. Which is
yes. I live in Houston, Texas, but I am from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh wow!
And I don't know if you remember after the one of the worst major disasters, natural disasters called Hurricane Katrina, back in 2005. That's when I moved and have been residing in Houston, Texas ever since.
Well, we can discuss
and
that.
It's been amazing.
Wow, we can talk about that. Well, we've got a fun part. You've got a lot to talk about. I know that you've got a lot of challenge. You've gone through a lot of challenges in your life. We're going to talk about, you have a skin condition, which is actually more common in these days. You're seeing more people doing it, especially top models who have it. You're seeing a skin. So we're talking about that. You talk about obviously how you got to how you're now in Texas due to the hurricane, but you can discuss a little bit about that.
Okay.
We've also got about we're going to talk about what you do now. So if you, as I say, when somebody mentions the tax man, you usually run. But this is a tax woman. but we'll talk about that later in the podcast. So, and there's obviously, we're going to...
You guys run from him. I run to them. I run to them. Yes.
So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. So, and we're talking about so we're going to have a fun pat talk with Chiquanda and about her life. Any day the whole point is the podcasts are about my guest. It's not about me. It's so you can relate to her story, relate to what she's gone through, ups, downs, challenges, and as I say, it's a bit like after listening to the podcast, you might want to connect with her and basically, hopefully, relate to her in some way or form, and that's what the podcast is about. And we've got also recently, she's got another story we'll touch on. Obviously, there's a lot of people who go through is the autism spectrum, but we'll touch on that as well, which is obviously challenging. But first, let's get a bit of a background. I always like to get a bit of a background about my guest, where they're from, where they grew up. Life, was it good, bad? Was it struggles? And then we just grow from there in the podcast. That's what I like to, because it's like telling a story. It's like you're picking up a book and reading it, and it starts from, hey, page 1, as you know, and you go from there. So, and before you know it, you're engrossed in that story. So let's get engrossed in Chiquanda's story and find out. Tell us a bit about your life. So tell us growing up, school, born, family life. Tell us about that. Being a little girl and going to school or whatever. How was life, good or bad or indifferent?
Wow. Okay, so the little girl, Chiquanda. So I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, to two-parent family. My parents were very hardworking. Both my dad was an entrepreneur, so I believe that's where we get the spirit of the entrepreneurial spirit from. Mother, very stern. She's now deceased. She's been deceased for like 3 years now. That's a whole nother show in itself. But I have a younger sister. It's only two of us. We only had 2 siblings, so 2 girls. So there were 3 women in the house with 1 man, with my dad. So he had his areas where he just left us alone, right? It's a whole bunch of women in the house, and he was outnumbered. So growing up for me, back in the day, I'm a 70s baby. So I just turned 44 last week. So I was a 70s baby. So as I was growing up, I grew up during the times where I actually remember when rap was born, when hip hop was formed. I remember when we can crack and bad things in the inner cities, and so I grew up in the inner cities, but I grew up in the suburbs. But we all were affected by the inner city struggles of crack cocaine, hip hop, and all of that. So it just kind of bring you back to the times where I'm talking about, like the late 80s. And for us, my family, it never really affected me personally. It just was more of we had to work. I was always told we have to work. My parents worked 2 and 3 jobs to make sure that my sister and I were well taken care of. In high school, I grew up, I did have the privilege of going to a parochial school because my parents wanted something different. My parents wanted something better than what they had. And so that has just been the motto that we're growing up. The basic motto, I believe that most of us had: get good grades in school, go to work, get a good job, and retire and live the life of Riley, right? Well, how many of you know that I did that, right? I went to school, I got good grades, I went to college, I got the degrees, and I was like most of us, have a lot of student loan debt. And I had work, and I've been working since I was 13, and that's all we know to do is work. Yeah, we know how to work, but the thing is, we don't really understand how to make money work for us. Or
what was your first job at 13?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I worked for what was called we had a summer job, and I was working in the office. I believe we used to call it not Job Corps, Manpower. That's what they used to call it. You can have an opportunity to work for Manpower. So I had a summer job, and I worked for Manpower, and oh man, it was great because I had my first check with my name on it, but then I had to definitely help out family and all. So I've always been a giver. I always looked for the other person or wanted to take care of somebody else before I take care of myself. I've always been like that. I've always been this community girl, always been just like I am now, real active in the church, real active in the community, wanted to see things different. I always had the dream and goal that I can change the world. And so as a kid, and when you grow up and you're like, okay, man, I did all of this, and I'm still in the position where I'm still working. And then what happens is life happens, right, Fraser?
Of course.
So nobody really planned and prepared us for when life happens. Nobody really planned and prepares us for when you lose a mother, or nobody really plan and prepare you for when you lose a child, or when you lose everything like I did in Hurricane Katrina. So we know we have those goals that, okay, we're going to retire, but in the middle of all of that, nobody really talks about how to deal with these adverse things that happen that sometimes are your fault, a fault of your own or not. So that has been the challenge for me, is that when life kind of knocks the wind out of you, how do you respond? You can pull on what you know as far as with your faith, and that has helped me as well. But also, too, it's all about, we're real big on family. I'm real big on family, real big on community. My support system has been like none other. They are definitely the reason why I'm still here, and I can even be with you today. And by the way, I do appreciate the opportunity. I know I've said it again. I'll just say it again. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak when you're saying.
Well, let's dissect, obviously, some of your stuff, because you got a lot to talk about. We're going to reel it off in about 10 seconds.
Yes, you have to help me. I am a talker, Fraser.
Yeah, that's right. I need to get you to breathe in between sentences. Well, let's start. Well, church. What kind of church do you go to?
So right now, I attend a non-denominational church.
What about the one in Texas? Well, no, back in Louisiana, New Orleans.
Yes, same. Starting with Baptist tradition. I grew up as a Baptist girl. Old Baptist is what I say. We grew up with the Baptist traditions. Then I attended a Catholic girls' school, so you can imagine those conversations.
That must have been interesting doing a Baptist church and a Catholic school.
Yes, it was very. Very interesting.
That's bizarre in a sense. Very bizarre.
Yes, I used to be a little rebel because I would question everything.
That's because thinking about it, the whole opposite. If you're going to a Christian Baptist school, you're a church, and then you're suddenly you go to Catholic school, which is the complete opposite.
Yes. Needless to say, I did make a low grade in the my freshman year in religion class. But needless to say, because my parents paid for my tuition, I had to get it together because I was always A's and B's. But I rebelled because to me, it was one teaching, and then this is like a brand new way of learning. Yes, it was interesting. It was interesting, Fraser. It was.
It's like, oh my word! It's like trying to. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like say, well, hey, it's like telling I don't know. If you're a Mormon going to attend Catholic school or something, it's just not going to work. It's just, it's like crumbs. My goodness, that must have been interesting. Obviously what Catholics believe and what Christians believe, and obviously, there's a lot of difference that people don't really realize that. That can certainly cause lots of arguments, certainly. Wow. So, okay. So, Catholic school was obviously with the challenges going on in being in Catholic school. I mean, you obviously were a bit of a rebel because obviously you knew what you believed in, and you knew what you believed in by going to a Baptist church and things. But obviously sitting in a Catholic school and you're learning, yes, but what they're teaching obviously is more Catholic based. Realizing you don't really believe in that. So you're sitting there thinking, well, this guy's talking out his other end. Or the teacher. So you're not going to be saying, you're sitting there going, oh boy, how the heck? How the heck did I get around this? So tell us a typical class of what you remember that you're sitting there and they're teaching you the Catholic side of things and you're knowing that you don't believe that.
So, okay, I can give you a story. When we had a test and of course, religion test, where religion was a subject, we had to go to religion class every day. But I can recall a time on the test, and the question was, how many books are in the Bible? And I was looking, and it was multiple choice. And I grew up in the Bible that my grandparents and that I learned in my church, it was 66 books of the Bible. I went to Vacation Bible School. I know how many books are in the Bible, but I kept scratching my head because I'm like, 66 is not any of these options. So what I did was, just to show you how rebellious I was, it was A, B, C, or D, and none of them were 66. So Fraser, what I did was I put E, and I wrote 66, and I circled it, and I challenged the teacher, and I told her I deserve my credit for that question because the right answer is not shown on the test. And she kept saying, no, there is the right answer. And I said, no, it's not, because it should be 66. So that just gives you a snippet of the back and forth rhetoric that we used to have in religion class. And my mom had to intervene after I made a D, and she was like, you're going to have to make this work because I'm paying for your tuition, and I've never seen a D or a C for that matter on your report card. So how about you just do what you need to do and make these grades? And so, of course, I had to because I had a hard, stern mom, and I was not going to embarrass her or the family or myself or jeopardize, my grades in the GPA. So, yes, big overachievers in our family. Yes.
Wow.
But that's funny. You bring me back to that was a fun time.
That must have been fun. But let's move on to, let's talk about you leave school. You're the same age as me because you're 75 a year. So born 1975, I am. I'm a 70s baby as well. So I was born on the 6th of August 1975, so only a few months younger than me. So tell us about so you leave, when you finish school, you've gone through the process of trying to bear up, learning the Catholic side of stuff and trying to avoid it like the plague, but obviously having to go through it because your mother was basically saying, do it. So what's your next stage in life when you leave school? What was next for you?
So what I did was I chose to stay in New Orleans and attend a commuter school. I decided I can stay in New Orleans, go to one of the top schools for accountancy at the university. So I went to the local university in the city, decided to stay home with my mom, help my mom and my sister, of course, worked and help to take care of the family. And I wasn't ready to move away. If you ever visit New Orleans, you understand, I just wasn't ready to leave my family at the moment because all of us were there. So I decided to stay in Louisiana for college. Of course, I did obtain my Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting back, like 4 years later. You want to know the year, Fraser? I'm up there. So it took me about 5 years to do that, because at the time, and I'm telling my age, the CPA exam was on paper.
Right. Okay.
The Certified Public Accountant exam was on paper. It was on paper, and it was 2 days, 8 hours each day.
Wow.
So, yes. So, and also they had changed the rules where you had now needed $150 to sit. So that in turn required me to have an extra year of school to obtain those extra hours so I can sit for the Certified Public Accountant exam. Yes, that was fun times too. And during that time, go ahead, Fraser.
I was going to say, so it's good. I'm going to take a quick breather before we're going to take a quick break, because it's good we've got a lot to cover, but we're going to take a quick break. It's good to shout out to my supporters and sponsors, as we like to do. I'm going to do that. People would like me to give a shout out to the people who contribute to the show. Obviously, there's myself. If you want to, edinburghdusters.co.uk, if you want to, like, cleaning and things. You in Edinburgh, Scotland, you can cleaning, carpets, ovens. You can check me out, and happy to help you out in some way or form. Also, shout out to our sponsors with the Frame Your Day app. It used to be Kingdom Beads. It's now the Frame Your Day app, and basically that's now. So is Aoife Leatham, so if you can download the app and all that, so which is great. Also got Natural Soap by Zakia. So if you like soap, you can buy her soap. She's in Philadelphia. Also a big shout out to John Drummond, who's in Edinburgh, who's a web designer for ideasgolive.com. So thank you for that. Supporters of BenitaCharles.com. Benita Charles, who does music. She's a singer-songwriter in New York. Jeiris Cook, the Jeiris Cook Report. He does a podcast as well. And he's also on Podbean. Eileen Smith. So she tests lots of stuff, whether it's Instagram, podcasting. She's a lot of testing lots of things. She has a YouTube channel. It's Eileen, which is ILEANE, Smith.com. You can check her on YouTube as well. Shout out to Brentman, BrentmanMusic.com, country gospel singer, originally from Canada, but also in Tampa, lives in Tampa, Florida. And for Humanity, Shannon Griffin, who's does t-shirts and things. So a big shout out. Thank you for all these people who support us down the line. It's great to have. We like to support them, and we like to support upcoming artists. So we'll be back and we'll play a new song which I was given to a guy called Jeiris Cook and Calvin Thomas, upcoming artists in America. They play a lot on Periscope, and we're going to play their new song. And the new song, which I actually did have in front of me, I do have it in front of me, I just can't remember where I put it. But we'll play their new song, which is called House with No Doors, and that's what we'll play. So we'll be back after a new song, a collaboration from Jeiris Cook and Calvin Thomas, and we will be back after this.
And I'm wondering if there's more I don't see. Surrounded by the comforts of home, why do I still feel all alone? Alone, alone. And I searched the room, got down on the floor. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no doors. I wore out my shoes, trying to find a clue. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no door. No door, no door. Yeah. Gotta find my way out, it's been so long since I've understood any semblance of love. Yeah. Try to look past what I once thought was fine. Yeah. Now I struggle just to read between the lines. The lines, the lines, yeah. And I searched the room, got down on the floor. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no door. I wore out my shoes, trying to find a clue. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no door. No door, no door.
Yeah, take it easy for me. Tell me what's ahead. Can't take much more of this. All the things that my brain says. Should I keep up this charade? I'm feeling like I know what happens to me next, and where my story goes. Where it goes, where it goes. And I searched the room, got down on the floor. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no doors. I wore out my shoes, trying to find the clue. I'm a prisoner for sure, 'cause this house, it has no doors. No doors, no doors.
Said I searched the room, baby, on the floor. I'm a prisoner for sure, but this house, it has no door. I wore out my shoes, trying to find a clue. I'm a prisoner for sure, but this house, it has no doors. I wore out my shoes, trying to find a clue.
Welcome back to part 2 with my guest, Chiquanda, I'll get it right, crumbs, I'm butchering it already. I've just, Chiquanda Johnson Alston. And so basically back to, it's just, this girl can't talk, she was right. So I'm having, so we're gonna,
You're wonderful. You hit the nail on the head. Not too many people do.
And so she's great. A lot to cover. So we're going to thank you for listening to that. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was great to hear upcoming artists and the support. So let's get back to Chiquanda. You've just done your exams and you're kind of going forward. But we also want there's another subject we want to touch about. We'll kind of come before you go into your sort of work side a bit more. You've also you mentioned you had a struggle regarding you were told that you couldn't have kids at a young age. And how old were you when you were told that?
Yes. So I was in college. I was 19 when I found out I had a condition called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And at the time, I was like, okay, what does that mean? And the doctor told me, said, okay, well, you won't be able to have any kids. And I was like, well, wow. And I was 19, so I really wasn't trying to have kids. I was trying to catapult my career. And I dismissed it. But also at that time, of course, it was always something in the back of my mind, like, oh my God, really? I can never have kids. But again, I was always one, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to challenge you and prove you wrong. So I really didn't receive it. I said, I know at the time, when the time comes, I'll be able, something should have happened in medicine where I'll be able to have kids. And Fraser, not too long after that is when I first found out I had vitiligo. I had one little mark on my leg, and I just thought I injured myself and didn't really realize that I hurt myself. But then I realized it. I said, okay, well, this little white mark on my leg, it's not healing. It's not going away. And at the time is when I found out it was vitiligo. And I was like, what is vitiligo? I never heard of that before. And the only person that that I can kind of put a face to it was Michael Jackson. And they were like, you have the Michael Jackson disease. I remember they were like, you have the Michael Jackson disease. I was like, oh my, do I? And I was like, okay, I love Michael Jackson, but I didn't want to love him like that. And they were like, yes, that basically means that your skin pigmentation is going to fade and you're going to start losing your color, the melanin in your skin. And I was like, oh, wow. And I just went to a dermatologist because as a woman, we have our insecurities about being a woman anyway, our flaws or what have you. So I immediately went to the dermatologist. I was like, okay, what is this and how can we fix it? You know, I'm an accountant, for God's sake. Let's get to the root cause so we can fix it. And so he explained to me that there's no cure for vitiligo. He explained to me it's hereditary. So someone in my family tree, not anybody that I can recall on my side of the family, has it. But he said if you go down your family tree, you can definitely, I'm sure someone with vitiligo will pop out. And he explained to me what it is. And I just, at the time, being a young woman, I was just like, I don't want it. I want it away from me. Let's fix it. And so, of course, I spent hundreds of dollars on these creams that did not work. I spent hundreds of dollars on these sessions. They'll do different type of, you had to have certain creams and all of that. And it was just one day, the dermatologist asked me, he said, I can continue to keep your money, or you can just realize that this is who you are and be okay with it. And at the time I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Let's continue to do this. I'm sure, again, like I said, I want to fix it. Let's find another cure. Let's find something. If I can get this an inkling of hope. And I remember Fraser saying, okay, I'll be okay with it as long as it doesn't get in my face. And then I remember Yes, and so now, yes, I remember. So before, I used to have a little bitty heart, and I can show you a picture. It looked like a heart. So people would think I had work done right above my lips. And that was the first sign of it getting on my face. And I was like, oh my God, I used to say a million prayers. And of course, I'm a Catholic girl, so I had to say a million Hail Marys, a million. So I'm a Catholic Baptist.
Oh my goodness.
So I said it all. I was like, I don't want it on my face. And so it just started gradually getting larger and larger, and I started getting in. If you don't know about vitiligo works in pairs. So if it's on one hand, it's on the other hand. If it's on one knee, it's on the other knee. It's a condition where it works in pairs. So that's why if you see someone with vitiligo and it's on one of their fingers, so I used to have on my fingers, it's from one hand to the next. So learning about this, I have to just really realize, the older I get, the more I have to realize because I wasn't born with the condition, I forget I have it. Now, I really forget.
What do you think brought this on? Obviously, when you're only still, how old was it? How old were you? About 20, 21 when you found out you had it? Or
yes, I was very young, very young.
So what do you think actually brought it on? What was there sort of? You've never had it. You weren't born with it, so you obviously there's some underlying gene somewhere that's in your body, but it's obviously just somehow as you got older. What actually brings this on? Is it stress or something, or is it something else?
Yes, you're absolutely right. With like everything else, the doctor told me, he said definitely stress will bring it out, and that makes so much sense because I can definitely recall times in my life when I was stressed out, whether it was studying for the exam or whether it was working 2 jobs and studying for exam and taking care of my grandmother who was terminally ill. So I can definitely go back and look at those times where I was really stressed out and the vitiligo would just start popping out. And then it got to a point after Hurricane Katrina, I spread like wildfire because literally through those type of traumatic things, it does. That's my experience. Now, somebody else may have something different. But again, it's really it's amazing how there's so many people with vitiligo, but yet in science, it's still so relatively new.
Because obviously you're now seeing people are seeing slowly more models you're doing on the catwalk with vitiligo as well, which is good. So it's obviously more. They're not kind of instead of cut. Usually we'd see them cover up with makeup to match the rest of their skin tone, but obviously they're now just staying as they are and just dealing with it. Because if not, you'd be putting makeup on forever or coloring up just to.
Because, and I'll tell you, I too used to wear makeup, and that makeup is extremely expensive. And for me, it did not work. And I never forget, Fraser, I had a date and I had vitiligo on my elbows, and I had a nice little shirt with my arms out, and he had leather seats, and he had like gray leather seats, and the makeup told me would never come off. Came off on his feet. I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. Because he didn't even realize that I had on makeup. And I guess he's like, who puts makeup on their elbows, right? But I'm like, well, I had vitiligo. But yeah, so I had to just realize that, you know what? I'm done with these makeups. I'm done with the creams. I told my dermatologist, okay, I'm done with seeing you. I'm to this point where this is who I am, and I have to live with it. Did I like it at the time? No. Do I still like it? No. But is this my reality? Yes. The only thing I can tell you is, Fraser, people are still so mean because people will look at you, and again, I'm not born with it. So I'm like, what are they looking at? And then I'll say, oh, okay, I have vitiligo. But now it's so at the forefront. I'm like, okay, you've never seen anybody with vitiligo? I mean, kids will ask questions. You know, kids are like, oh, my God, did you have a bobo or a boo-boo, or did you get burned or hurt? I give grace to the kids because the kids don't understand. But when the adults, and they look at you like something's wrong with you, I'm like, oh, God, people can be mean. So if you're out there and you have vitiligo and you do cover it, and you're not to that point to just say you want to bear it all, I understand. I do. I understand. It's just, for me, I had to just make it a point in my life and just say, you know what, this is me. And believe it.
Let's go into the next bit. Let's touch on a little bit of Hurricane Katrina. Now, obviously, this is obviously takes you to where you are now. Let's dissect the going through, knowing that there's a hurricane coming, and realizing going through the devastation of the aftermath. So let's talk a little bit about that, and remind people of the year it happened as well.
So for me, there are tons of stories, tons of stories of heroes that you never would ever realize. It was something like none other. That storm happened 15 years ago, and I can pretty much talk about it like it happened yesterday.
Okay.
It's something that will just change all of our lives if you've been a part of it or not. At the time, the weekend before Hurricane Katrina, it was our family reunion. So I have family all over that drove, took trains, planes, and automobiles to come to New Orleans and end up being stuck down there. That weekend before, we had our family reunion. Our venue closed. Everybody was like, oh my God, there's a Hurricane, and we've not seen one of those in 40 years. New Orleans hadn't seen one of those in 40 years. And so here we are, here's one, and you better take shelter. You better leave if you can, and take it very seriously. So we were like, what do we do? So we had our family reunion that Saturday, but we had a weekend of activities planned. And then we decided, okay, well, we'll have to cut it short because some of us want to go, and we'll try to get everybody out and go to back to their hometowns and all, but the airport's closed, everything closed. Sunday morning, thank God we were able to get out and get to Birmingham, Alabama at the time. We found a hotel between New Orleans and Birmingham, Alabama, which is about 3 or 4 hours, that had a hotel. And so we went there. And the next morning, or that Monday morning, August 29th is the day they commemorate it. Our lives have never been the same.
Right.
Never been the same. The same roads that we traveled to leave New Orleans to get to Birmingham was cracked in half like puzzle pieces. The same homes that it's just surreal when you go back to a place and you're expecting to see a playground that you grew up in next to the stop sign, next to this neighbor's home, and this is the neighbor that sells candies or cookies, and all of that's washed away. And like literally, my sister and I were walking. We're thinking this is where our family's homes were, but everything was all just devastated. It's like 20-something feet of water just in the city, and everything.
because New Orleans is built. What's it built? Is it like reclaimed land, or was it what?
Actually, New Orleans is built below sea level, so we are a bowl. And I'm born and raised there. I had no idea that it's not normal for the Mississippi River to be over your head. We have what's called levees. So if we want to look at the water, we walk up the levee to look at the river. But people, when they travel there, they're like, oh my God, the water is over your head. And I always was like, okay, well, where else should it be? But yes, we're below sea level. What
made them build a town? They've got Old Orleans. What made them build a town below sea level with the risk?
Well, let's go back to history. Okay. And New Orleans is celebrating like 300 years. So New Orleans used to be that place where you would have a lot of import-export would come through there, a lot of ships. It was the party town. It was the party town. It still is the party town. So you had that. You had pirates. You had a lot of slave trade activity. It was the place, and people would just settle there. And so my family settled there. But even still, we always say, even back then, the stories that my grandparents would tell is that even back then we were still like gumbo. And gumbo is a New Orleans original type of soup. It's similar. It's a soup where it's a little bit of everything. So you had people that were African Americans, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, Caucasian Americans, of African descent, Creole Americans. We have a gumbo. That's why we call it gumbo. It's a mix of everything in New Orleans. So it was that town, and everybody, even now, people love to travel there. If you've never been, oh my God, New Orleans is an amazing city. It's French. Mm-hmm. That's why you see the fleur-de-lis. We love our town. With French inspired. The French, the homes are still like they were almost 300 years ago in the city. It's a beautiful town. So you'll love it.
So let's say, obviously, if you want to go to New Orleans, great. There's an opportunity there. So let's say we'll take a rip of our tune. I'll play and we'll pick some random tunes. As I say, I'll just you can hopefully enjoy it. Not actually chosen one, so we'll just pick something. As I say, it's great. We've had a good insight so far to what Chiquanda's life, and it's kind of gone from lots of interesting topics. But we're going to come back to more topics after this, because we've got like a part 2 of one topic regarding her when she said she wasn't able to have kids. But there's another part to that, and there's more. But we're going to be at the stage that she's now in Texas. So we've obviously, due to the Hurricane Katrina, so we're now going to dissect. Now she's obviously new place, new living conditions. This is the next part of her life, a new life. So having to leave that all behind due to a natural disaster can't have been easy. But this is her next chapter, and we'll discuss a bit more about that. And this after this tune. So we're back in a second.
I hope I never fall in love again. It just hurts too much and always ends. I don't believe in what that Shakespeare penned. I hope I never fall in love again. I think we both know what is really true. I couldn't even if I wanted to. Oh, because I'm still in love with you. Oh, because I'm still in love with you. I hope I never fall in love again. You know it's you and it has always been. Feels like my heart will never ever mend. I hope I never fall in love again. I'm trying hard but I just can't pretend. I never wanna fall in love again. Maybe I will, but I just don't know when. And that's terrifying me knowing. What I really need is something real, a shroud to cover you so I can heal, so I can risk it and not give a damn. Then I'll rush in just like the fool I am. I hope I never fall in love again. You know it's you and it has always been. Feels like my heart will never ever mend. I hope I never fall in love again. Now I'm living in a fantasy that you'll come find me on that balcony. We'll run away and leave it all behind. But I'm running out of time. Oh, I'm running out of time. I gotta let you go. Stop living in your shadow. I'm trying hard, but I just can't pretend. I never wanna fall in love again. I wanna risk it and not give a damn. Then I'll rush in just like the fool I am.
Welcome back to part 2 or 3, whatever you call it. Anyway, welcome back with my guest Chiquanda Johnson Alston, all the way from Texas. But we're gonna. So, are you enjoying so far? You're not kind of enjoying the podcast so far?
Oh, I am loving this.
Okay,
I am
that's good.
so excited. Thank you so much, Fraser. You are amazing.
So I'm glad you're enjoying it, which is good. So as long as I've got my legal team on standby, just in case. I'm joking on that. So let's go. But so let's go to you've just left. Well, you've now had to leave. When did you actually physically move to Texas?
When did I leave and resided in Texas?
Yeah, when did you actually? When was the actual process after the Hurricane Katrina? When did you then have to move to Texas? What was your next stage from there?
Yes, I moved in November. So it was I was going back and forth. So my final move, so naturally helping to rebuild, helping to clean up, helping to see what we can salvage, which was a little of nothing, and finally moved to Texas and remained there. Are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Yes, that's what I had to, November 2005 was when I finally made Texas my home. And so naturally, Houston hosted, I believe it was like 150,000 New Orleanians at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so that's when I said, okay, I'll try it out here. I was single at the time, no kids, and the sky was the limit. I could have gone anywhere.
So you just moved to, so you're obviously you're now residing, you're trying Texas out. So what's, new life, new house, new surroundings. being single, and obviously with the question of not knowing that saying that you can't have kids, but there's a happy ending to that. But we're going to. So when you tell us your process, tell us life. What job did you do? And tell us how you met your partner. You met your partner. Church life, and let's dissect towards the now. As you're obviously then, but we'll come into the now and then going forward from there.
Okay. Well, I started my own business, which I had already started that in Louisiana. So that's the great thing about being your own business person. You're an entrepreneur. You can pick up and start there. The only difference is New Orleans is a very small town. Within 10 minutes, 10 miles, you're in and out. And now I have moved to the fourth largest city in the U.S., in Texas, where there's 8 million people here. That was the difference. So it was literally everything in Louisiana is about 10, 15 minutes away from each other. I can't go down the street now without it being a 25, 30-minute commute. So I had to wrap my head around that. That's a big difference. I had to wrap my head around these long commutes to see clients and all. But I jumped out there and I said, okay, I'll be an entrepreneur and I'll work things out. I had not met my husband at the time yet, but I said, okay, I'll go out and I'll start being an entrepreneur. Let's see how that works. So I went to different networking events and just try to put my name out there and did a lot of work for people until the great Enron happened. Do you remember Enron, Fraser?
Enron? I don't know that, no.
Oh, my God. Okay. Enron was a company, a Houston-based company, where there was a lot of fraudulent activity. I just say that. And as a result of that, we had to change the way we did our accounting standards in the state.
Okay.
Before, we used to rely on the Financial Accounting Standards Board, i.e. the FASB, for guidance. But now, as a result of Enron, we had to change, and we have what's now called Sarbanes-Oxley, or SOX control. So the Enron scandal, the Enron major misstatement of financial statements, it was so bad, let's just say, that it changed the way we accounted for financials. And as a result of that, it put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths about accountants. They were like, oh, my God, you were supposed to be the watchdog. I was like, I never worked at Enron. It was that whole thing. If one's bad, they're all bad. So I started losing my clients left and right. And nobody trusted accountants. And at the same time, the software companies had started sliding right in and saying, okay, yeah, go ahead, fire your accountants. You can do your own books by just buying the software. You can manage your taxes by just buying the software. And that made it really challenging for us at that time. So then I end up having to go back into corporate America as a result of that. Just to make sure I pay my bills and live. But of course, still keeping, going back and keeping clients and working on building the clients and working on building my business, working on building my life back, my savings back and everything. as a result of a natural disaster. That just took some time. So then at that time, are you there, Fraser?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm listening. I just keep it. Don't worry about your video because your video is getting a bit. Just leave it as it is and just carry on talking.
Okay.
Keep it.
Well, I was going to just move into how I met my husband.
Yeah, that's the. How did you meet the man of your dreams? Did he sweep you off your feet or?
Lord, Fraser, we don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of time. Well, no, but my husband, he and I were together. We met in college. He is a professional musician. So he's from the East Coast, and we met in college when we were 17. We were together in college, but then broke up. So we both had to take care of our families.
You meet him at Catholic school? No, different.
No, it wasn't Catholic school. Yeah, no. I went to all girls school. No. I met him in college.
Well, all right, okay, cool.
I met him in college. Yes, I met him at college, and we dated all through college. And he asked me to marry him, and I said, no, I couldn't leave my family. So he had to go back to his hometown in the East Coast. I went back. I stayed home in New Orleans, and 7 years had passed, and we met up again and after Hurricane Katrina. So he moved to Houston, where I was, and we decided to get married. And when he asked me, he said, I do remember when you were in college, you told me you can never have kids. Is that still the case? And I said, yes, it is. And he said, okay, that's okay. We'll work through it. We'll even adopt if we have to. And so I said, well, I had never really tried, but we started to try to have kids, and it was very upsetting, needless to say. We spent money, time, energy on the fertility doctors, but how many of you all know that is very expensive and it's not covered by insurance? And then we just couldn't do that anymore. And I remember my husband saying, we'll have kids when it's time. And I remember saying, you just don't want to go through this process because you're being cheap. Because I was really serious. I wanted to go through the whole process. I need to have a kid. I want to be a mommy and see what that looks like. So we did like most couples. It becomes a job, Fraser. It does. You know, you find out when everything is aligned properly, and then you calling your husband to come home, or you calling him, to make sure it becomes work, and it's not fun, and it's very stressful, very, very stressful. And I remember when we finally became pregnant, the first time, I was so excited, and I was like, oh my God, we have a baby, babies are coming. And so I believe it was a checkup right before when you find out the sex of the baby is when I found out I was having 2 babies.
Oh, wow.
I said, oh my God, I'm having 2 babies. But that was in 2009. I found out I was having 2 babies. Yes, it was 2009. And so I said, okay, so great. We're going to have 2 babies. We've defied the odds. We'll have 2 babies and we'll be good. And we found out we were pregnant with twins. But right after that, we had a doctor's appointment and the twins had passed away.
Oh.
Yes, they had what was called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. It's almost like the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that movie? Yes. That's exactly what one twin was a normal sized twin. One twin was small. And they tried to transfuse to help each other because the larger twin and they both just couldn't make it. And so that was that took the life out of me. That was one of those moments, like I mentioned in the onset of the program, where life happens, knocked the wind out of me. Because not only did I find out I lost my babies, but I had to deliver these babies that I lost because this was my first pregnancy, and that's just what had to happen. So I had to deliver these babies, and because Texas law, you have to now name these babies. And then you have to bury these babies. Yes. It's the whole, and so I remember just saying, oh my God, no, this is going from bad to worse. Because it's different when you're baby A and baby B. Then now you put a name. Now you have to have a funeral. Now you have to bury. Now, and you're literally just still floating. So that was a very hard time for me. Oh my God, it was a very hard time. March 2nd, 2009 is the day I never forget because that's when I lost my baby. At that moment, I absolutely went into a depression, a spiral, because I said, okay, now I know I really can't have kids. I can't. It's okay. And I was still in shock mode. I remember my husband buying me a puppy, hoping that would help me, give me something to love on. And he did. The puppy really did wonders for me, but it was just because you still go through the same, your body still goes through the same things, the whole same hormonal things and all of that. And I had to really just say, okay, I'm not going to have kids. And what does that look like? And so just to fast forward, we were in the process of adopting. It took me 2 years to at least just even consider it, to get out of the depression mode that I was in. And I said, okay, we started the process to adopt. And it was in the middle of that process that I found out I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And we didn't do any fertility. We didn't, exactly what we did. We just stopped stressing about it. Everybody told us that and just said, just let it flow and just let things work naturally. But it's true. Once we just stopped stressing about it and just let life take its course, and I found out I was pregnant. So needless to say, I was a basket case. Oh my God, I was a basket case. I did not want to tell anybody, Fraser. I told my husband he better not say anything because I don't want the disappointment again. So I was a basket case until I delivered the baby. I mean, I didn't want to believe it until I actually had it, because I would always ask the doctors, is everything okay? And I had to hear a heartbeat, just because going through that with having babies with no heartbeat, that was just big for me. And so I had my baby, and so that was in February of 2012. So that's like 3 years had passed before the last baby. That's a long time because of trying and saying we're going to try again. That was my first.
That must have been, I'm going to say, to have that, do you mean to actually get over that hurdle to have your first child? And knowing that just thinking that you were told that you couldn't have kids, and God has provided for you, and you have your first child, which is something you can't really, this was meant to happen for you, So, yes, it's a blessing.
Yeah, it definitely. Yes. Oh my God. It's definitely one that I was like, okay, I defied the odds because there was no question I had second opinions, third opinions. They all would say, okay, no, you have PCOS and you will not be able to have kids. But I ended up being pregnant. And so I realized after I got over the depression a little bit, like, you know what, I was pregnant and I had real babies. So we can possibly do this again. So it was a little bit of silver lining. And I had Alana, which is my 7-year-old, my oldest. I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, she is my angel. She's my blessing. I was perfectly fine with one, Fraser, so my mom, my mom and my aunt, who are both deceased now, they mentioned to me, they said, well, if God can bless you with one, you know you can have more. I said, there's no way I can have more when I literally defied the odds on this one. And they said, okay, trust me, you can have more because now you're fertile. You've had one and you can have more. And I didn't believe them. I didn't believe them. I was not trying to have more, but less than 2 years later, I became pregnant again, Fraser. And in January 2014, I had another baby. And so now I'm like, what is going on? I really can have kids. I thought you guys said I could never have kids. And they were like, well, you know, sometimes that's why there is always a 0.1% chance. We never say anything 100%. Because now I'm like, oh my God, now I'm a mother of 2 children. So now you have to have a different conversation. Do you continue to try to have more kids? Mm-hmm. Or because now I'm in my 40s I'm almost 40 at this point, Fraser. Uh-huh. I'm almost 40. So now I'm like, okay, I have 2 kids. What do you do? So we try to, in the midst of trying to not have any more kids, I end up pregnant with my 3rd baby.
Oh, crumbs.
Yes, crazy. Yes. Like a year later, I was like, oh my gosh. So I was 22 weeks. I have to tell, oh my God, I was 22 weeks pregnant with my 3rd baby when I found out that I was pregnant. So yes, wow. It does happen, listeners. People think it doesn't happen. Yes. My baby just was sitting there simmering and growing, and I had not a clue because, again, I have PCOS. So I realized I went from not being able to have one baby to now have 3. Have 3 kids, 7, 5, and 3. And it's just amazing I look back and I said, I look at my kids and I am like, I cannot believe I'm a mom because all my life I was told I could never be a mom. So I'm saying all that to say, if you're out there and you're stressing and about never being able to have kids, I always say, if it's the desire of your heart, you will have kids. I have friends who've had their kids in late 40s. Wow. I mean, there's time, yes. So you can have kids. So just be encouraged. Be encouraged. It can happen for you, even with PCOS.
What we'll do is we'll get on to what you're doing now, because obviously I'm on using the Zoom. You only get a certain amount of time as a free, even one person. But I just so we can cover more bases. But we can always come back in the future and do another podcast, and we can talk more. But let's talk about what you do, just briefly what you do now. And obviously, it's great, fantastic music from coming with not being able to have kids to now have 3 kids, which is a blessing in disguise, to say the least. And we're grateful. So let's talk about the now. We've dissected a lot about your life. We've dissected a lot about that. You're going through a hurricane, from having to move, from suffering from vitiligo. Yeah, get it right. Skin condition and living with that. Yeah,
I said it's called the Michael Jackson disease.
Yeah, well, Michael Jackson's disease, yeah, that one. So, but let's talk about the now. So tell us let's fast track to the present day. What is it you do now, and who are you? Tell us about, well, who do you want to, what's your goals going forward, especially when it's coming 2020 is around the corner, it's a new decade. What is your goals going forward, and and who are you looking for? Where people can connect with you as well. So let's start with the now, going forward with your goals for the next year, and what your customers are looking for, and where people can connect with you.
Well, great. Well, right now I have stayed on the track of being an accountant. I'm an accountant. I have a company. My company is called Johnson's Bookkeeping and Tax. We have a Facebook page out there. My personal Facebook is Chiquanda Johnson Alston. We are also on Instagram, Johnson's Bookkeeping. I am an accountant. I've been doing this for well over 20 years, and I help individuals and businesses with tax planning, whether that is doing a little bit of business coaching, doing a little bit of helping you with startups, helping you with your business startup, helping you with the business plan, all the way to helping you with your accounting and your tax planning. And if you are a public company and you're needing either audit and full-fledged audit or review or compilation, we can also service you with that. So we are a full-service accounting firm where we can service your needs in that capacity. Right now, what I'm doing is my mission, my passion, my goal, Fraser, is to help individuals and businesses with their money mindset, with helping them realize that wealth is their portion, and you utilize the wealth. There's nothing wrong. We don't have a problem with working. We don't have a problem with obtaining. Our problem and our challenge comes in with keeping and maintaining the money that we earn. Because if you do not, because we all know that we do have the tax man or tax woman that looks for us all the time, right? So those individuals, we run from them. But I run to them. And I teach you all also how to run to them, because those are strategies behind having the tax code work for you. Whether it's the tax code, the U.S. tax code, or whether it is international tax code, it does not matter. There are strategies that are out there that can help you individually and as a business owner to help make this work for you. So that's been my mission. I travel. I've been traveling the world teaching that. Definitely, but we just have to have a different mindset. Look at money differently. Realize that you're not just spending, you are investing in treating your business like a full-fledged business. If you are doing something for your business, it is an investment for your business that is tax deductible. So those are the types of things that I help my clients definitely to realize that there are corporations out there that do not run from the tax man. They love tax season because of their tax strategy. They pay little to no taxes. So I want the same for my clients, and in order to do so, you have to get knowledge, skill, and get yourself an accountant on your team that can help you in these areas, that can help you get your money and finances together, that can help you with the education out there, that can help you interpret and get those great tax shelters out there that are provided for you. So that's what I'm doing. I'm so super excited. It has been amazing to get on. I've been doing this for over 20 years, but to now move into the social media realm, it's a brand new world. I wouldn't have never met Fraser, and I would not be listening to you before. That's why I say social media is just a whole nother gambit.
Yes,
because yes, as an accountant, we could never. We used to back in the day. You have to have a small little advertisement in the yellow pages. That now these millennials don't even know what a yellow page is, and more or less a small advertisement. But now, social media has afforded us an opportunity. So now I can be in Fraser's hometown and still talk about my business and do it legally. That is, it's amazing. It's amazing. And the sky's the limit for that. So definitely, if you want to connect with me, thank you, Fraser. I do have a free gift for you all. I am a Southern girl, New Orleans folks. We never come without a gift. So that is just how we are. We are definitely the Leslie LeBonton Roulet people. Let the good times roll. That means let the good times roll in French. So I come bearing gifts. We call that lagniappe. That's a little something extra. So I have some lagniappe for you all. I'll have the Bitly link available to you. I have also, if you'd like to connect with me, a Bitly link for you to do so as well. But let's get a call. I'm clearly, for those, this is the perfect time. We're in the fourth quarter. Those of you who would like to finish this year strong, those of you who are saying, what could I do? What tax shelters can I utilize before the end of the year to reduce my tax liability? Or those of you who said, okay, you know what? I've not done anything with my books this year, but I do need to, because we all have to report something. And what better way? Let us help you get your financials in order. Let us help you get a tax strategy. That way you can jumpstart and have a plan for 2020 before the ball drops.
There we go. So, as you can see, we're going to have all her links, Chiquanda's links in the show notes. We'll have the Bitly links for the free gifts. So, yes, well, as I say, we've had a packed podcast. We've talked a lot. So, and I'm sure we can do down the line. We'll do a part 2. I'm sure there'll be more stuff we can dissect or something else we can talk about, because it sounds like Chiquanda's been through a lot, and I'm sure she's got more stories to tell down the line somewhere for him. And we've only maybe scratched the surface on a few things, but it's been great to have her on the show, and it's great to interview and hear her story and hear just a bit about her life, especially when somebody's been through a hurricane and obviously having to literally, you have to start again and move, which cannot never be easy for anybody. So from living in living in your nice home, your street where you grew up, and suddenly before you know it, it's just taken from you within the blink of an eye. So just thinking of those challenges, of thinking of what you have and don't take it for granted, because knowing that you do have what you have is, it could just be that blink of an eye and it could be all gone, like the situation with having to deal with a hurricane. But anyway, we'll have all of Chiquanda's links in the show notes so people can connect with her. You can get that free gift from her, and I appreciate that. But obviously, a big thanks to our supporters out there, people who listen to us. As I say, we are Ramsey Unleashed, podcast is Ramsey Unleashed, Going Beyond Borders, as we want to inspire people by listening to your people's stories. So as I say, if you've got a story you want to tell, you want to link up with people or connect, give me a shout, or as I say, we'd love to be able to help. And as I say, upcoming artists, if you're listening, somebody who's an artist, you want to get your music out there, happy to play it on the podcast and expand your reach to people. So Chiquanda, thank you for the time. Thank you. Hopefully you're as I say, for being on the podcast, and hopefully that's been fun for you, and you've been maybe your first international podcast.
You know what, Fraser? This has been amazing. And I do thank you. I thank you for the opportunity. I do not take it for granted. This has been so fun. This has been amazing just to kind of go back and down memory lane and tell my story. Nobody has ever asked me to tell my story before, but this has been great. It's been awesome. I do look forward to more podcasts. Yes, we have some great gifts for you all. Make sure you utilize that and take advantage of the free gifts that are out there. And I appreciate it.
Well, to everyone who's listening, till the next podcast, we have a great time, as I say, and the countdown to Christmas is on. And let's see what Santa brings you down the chimney, if you've got one. And to everybody, have a great one, and we'll speak to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.